History books only scratch the surface when it comes to legendary battles. While names like Waterloo and Gettysburg are well known, countless other epic clashes have been overshadowed by time. Today, we're uncovering 10 legendary battles you never learned about in school, but absolutely should have. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more incredible videos. Number 10. The Battle of Cajamarca, 1532. The Battle of Cajamarca, 1532, was one of history's most shocking military encounters, where a tiny Spanish force led by Francisco Pizarro defeated the mighty Inca Empire in a single decisive strike. With just 168 Spanish soldiers, including cavalry and gunmen, Pizarro lured the powerful Inca Emperor Atahualpa into a trap. As thousands of unarmed Incan warriors gathered in the town square, the Spaniards ambushed them using muskets, cannons, and steel swords, technologies the Incas had never seen before. The resulting massacre left thousands of Incas dead, while Pizarro's forces suffered almost no casualties. This shocking victory wasn't just about superior weaponry, it was a tactical masterstroke combined with psychological warfare. Atahualpa, believing the Spaniards were insignificant, had left his army's weapons behind, expecting a peaceful meeting. The unexpected attack crushed Incan morale, and with their emperor captured, the once mighty empire began to unravel. Pizarro later executed Atahualpa, paving the way for Spain's brutal conquest of South America. This battle remains a stark example of how a vastly outnumbered force can triumph through strategy, deception, and the element of surprise. Number 9. The Battle of the Teutoburg Forest, 9 AD. The Battle of the Teutoburg Forest, 9 AD, was a devastating defeat for the Roman Empire that halted its expansion into Germania. 3 Roman legions, led by Publius Quinctilius Varus, marched through the dense Germanic forest, unaware that they were walking into an ambush. The mastermind behind the trap was Arminius, a Germanic chieftain who had previously served in the Roman army and knew their tactics well. Using the forest's rough terrain to his advantage, Arminius and his warriors launched a relentless assault, surrounding the Romans and cutting off their escape. Over the course of several days, nearly 20,000 Roman soldiers were slaughtered, leaving the legions annihilated. This catastrophic defeat was more than just a military loss, it reshaped the future of Europe. Emperor Augustus, upon hearing the news, was so distraught that he allegedly wandered his palace, crying, "Varus, give me back my legions." Rome abandoned its plans to conquer Germania, establishing the Rhine River as the empire's northern frontier. The battle cemented Arminius as a Germanic hero, and his victory ensured that Germanic tribes would remain independent from Roman rule, influencing the cultural and political landscape of Europe for centuries to come. Number 8. The Battle of Talas, 751 AD. The Battle of Talas, 751 AD, was a pivotal clash between the Tang dynasty of China and the Abbasid Caliphate, marking the first and only major military encounter between these two great empires. Taking place near the Talas River in modern-day Kyrgyzstan, the battle was sparked by a struggle for influence over Central Asia. The Chinese forces, led by General Gao Xianji, initially held the upper hand, but a betrayal by their allied Karlik Turkic mercenaries turned the tide in favor of the Abbasids. The Tang army was overwhelmed, and thousands of Chinese soldiers were either slaughtered or captured, effectively ending China's westward expansion. Beyond its military significance, the Battle of Talas had a profound cultural impact. Among the Chinese prisoners were papermakers, whose knowledge of paper production was passed on to the Islamic world. This transfer of technology led to the spread of paper-making techniques throughout the Middle East and eventually into Europe, revolutionizing communication, record-keeping, and education. While the battle itself remains obscure in many history books, its consequences shaped global history in ways few other conflicts have. Number 7. The Battle of Vienna, 1683. The Battle of Vienna, 1683, was a turning point in European history, marking the end of the Ottoman Empire's expansion into the heart of the continent. The massive Ottoman army, led by Grand Vizier Kara Mustafa, had laid siege to Vienna for over 2 months, threatening to overrun the city and push deeper into Europe. Just when all seemed lost, a relief force led by King John III Sobieski of Poland arrived with a coalition of Christian armies, including the Holy Roman Empire and various European states. In one of history's largest cavalry charges, Sobieski's Polish winged hussars thundered down from the hills, smashing through the exhausted Ottoman lines and forcing them into a chaotic retreat. This victory didn't just save Vienna, it shifted the balance of power in Europe. The battle marked the beginning of the Ottoman decline, as Christian forces slowly pushed the empire back in the following decades. It also strengthened European unity against the Ottoman threat and set the stage for Austria's rise as a dominant force in Central Europe. Though often overshadowed by other battles in history books, Vienna's defense in 1683 remains one of the most dramatic last-stand moments in military history. Number 6. The Battle of Ain Jalut, 1260. The Battle of Ain Jalut, 1260, was a decisive clash that marked the first major defeat of the Mongol Empire and halted its seemingly unstoppable expansion into the Middle East. After the Mongols, led by Hulagu Khan, had destroyed Baghdad and crushed the Abbasid Caliphate, they turned their attention to Egypt. However, before they could advance further, Hulagu withdrew much of his army to deal with political turmoil back home, leaving behind a smaller force under Kidbuka, a Mongol general. Seizing this opportunity, the Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt, led by Sultan Qutuz and his brilliant commander Baybars, lured the Mongols into the plains of Ain Jalut in modern-day Palestine. Using hit-and-run tactics and a feigned retreat, the Mamluks managed to encircle and crush the Mongol army, killing Kidbuka in the process. This battle was a turning point in world history, proving that the Mongols were not invincible. It prevented their domination of the Islamic world and ensured the survival of the Mamluk Sultanate, which would go on to rule Egypt and the Levant for centuries. The battle also showcased the effectiveness of gunpowder weapons, as the Mamluks were among the first to use hand cannons in combat. Ain Jalut's victory preserved the cultural and political landscape of the Middle East, making it one of the most significant yet lesser-known battles in history. Number 5. The Battle of Cartagena de Indias, 1741. The Battle of Cartagena de Indias, 1741, was a stunning naval and land battle that saw the Spanish successfully defend their key Caribbean stronghold against one of the largest British invasion forces ever assembled. Part of the War of Jenkins' Ear, this battle pitted a Spanish garrison of just 3,600 soldiers and sailors, led by the legendary Blas de Lezo, against a British armada of nearly 27,000 troops and 186 ships, commanded by Admiral Edward Vernon. Despite being heavily outnumbered, Lezo, a one-eyed, one-armed, and one-legged veteran, used his deep knowledge of the fortifications and strategic naval defenses to repel wave after wave of British assaults. The British, suffering from disease, logistical failures, and stiff resistance, were ultimately forced into a humiliating retreat. The defeat was so disastrous that Britain tried to erase it from history, while Spain solidified its dominance over the Caribbean for decades to come. Blas de Lezo's brilliant leadership turned Cartagena into an impenetrable fortress, and his victory remains one of the greatest underdog triumphs in military history. Yet it is rarely taught outside of Spain and Latin America. Number 4. The Battle of St. Matthew, 1512. The Battle of St. Matthew, 1512, was a fierce and often overlooked naval clash between the Kingdom of England and the Duchy of Brittany, allied with France, during the War of the League of Cambrai. This battle is historically significant as it saw the first recorded instance of ships engaging in combat using broadside cannons, marking a major shift in naval warfare. The English fleet, led by Sir Edward Howard, faced off against a Franco-Breton force commanded by René de Clermont off the coast of Brittany. The fight was brutal, and both fleets suffered heavy losses, but it was the fiery destruction of the Cordelier, the flagship of the Breton fleet, that made this battle legendary. As the Cordelier engaged the English flagship Regent, a fierce battle ensued, with both ships becoming locked together in combat. After hours of intense fighting, an explosion, likely from a fire reaching the ship's gunpowder stores, obliterated both vessels, killing hundreds of sailors, including Hervé de Portsmaguer, the captain of the Cordelier. This dramatic naval engagement demonstrated the increasing power of gunpowder weaponry at sea, setting the stage for the rise of heavily armed warships in European naval conflicts. Despite its significance, the battle remains largely forgotten outside of naval history circles. Number 3. The Battle of Karánsebes, 1788. The Battle of Karánsebes, 1788, is one of the most bizarre and disastrous military engagements in history, because it wasn't really a battle at all. During the Austro-Turkish War, the Austrian army, composed of soldiers from various ethnic backgrounds who spoke different languages, set up camp near the town of Karánsebes, in modern-day Romania. One night, a group of Austrian scouts bought alcohol from local traders and started drinking. When another unit arrived and demanded a share, a drunken argument broke out. A shot was fired, and in the confusion, the Austrian troops mistook their own men for an attacking Ottoman force. Panic spread as soldiers began firing on each other in the darkness, with cavalry charges and artillery joining in the chaos. Officers, believing the camp was under attack, ordered a full retreat, without realizing they were fleeing from their own side. By the time the confusion was sorted out, hundreds of Austrian soldiers were dead or wounded, and the Ottoman army arrived 2 days later to find the battlefield already littered with Austrian casualties. This self-inflicted disaster is one of history's greatest military blunders, proving that miscommunication and poor coordination can be just as deadly as an enemy attack. Number 2. The Battle of Adwa, 1896. The Battle of Adwa, 1896, was a historic victory that shattered European colonial ambitions in Africa and solidified Ethiopia's status as an independent nation. As part of Italy's attempt to expand its empire, the Italian forces, numbering around 17,000 troops, advanced into Ethiopian territory expecting an easy victory. However, Emperor Menelik II had mobilized a massive army of nearly 100,000 warriors, including infantry, cavalry, and artillery units, many of whom were armed with modern weapons supplied by Russia and France. On March 1, 1896, the Ethiopian forces launched a fierce counterattack, overwhelming the Italians with superior numbers, tactical knowledge of the terrain, and coordinated assaults. The crushing Ethiopian victory at Adwa sent shockwaves through Europe and became a defining moment in African history. Over 7,000 Italian soldiers were killed, and thousands more were taken prisoner, forcing Italy to sign the Treaty of Addis Ababa, which recognized Ethiopia's sovereignty. This battle made Ethiopia the only African nation to successfully resist European colonization during the scramble for Africa, inspiring future independence movements across the continent. Despite its significance, the Battle of Adwa is rarely taught in Western history classes, yet it remains one of the most remarkable military triumphs of the 19th century. Number 1. The Battle of Dio, 1509. The Battle of Dio, 1509, was a pivotal naval clash that reshaped control of the Indian Ocean and marked the beginning of European dominance in Asian trade. Fought off the coast of Dio, India, this battle saw the Portuguese Empire face off against a powerful alliance of the Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt, the Ottoman Empire, the Gujarat Sultanate, and the Zamorin of Calicut. The Allied fleet, vastly outnumbering the Portuguese, sought to expel the Europeans from the lucrative spice trade routes. However, the Portuguese, under the command of Francisco de Almeida, utilized superior naval firepower, heavily armed ships, and strategic positioning to completely destroy the enemy fleet. The decisive Portuguese victory at Dio established European naval supremacy in the Indian Ocean for centuries to come. The battle not only crippled Muslim and Indian naval powers in the region but also secured Portuguese control over vital trade routes, allowing them to dominate spice trade between Asia and Europe. This event marked the beginning of Western colonial expansion in Asia, yet it remains largely overshadowed by later European imperial conquests. The Battle of Dio was a turning point in world history, demonstrating the increasing power of gunpowder warfare at sea and the shifting balance of power in global trade. And there you have it, 10 legendary battles that history books often overlook. Which one surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more epic history content. Until next time, this is Robot Ray, signing off.